Okay, so basically with that math clipboard that I was telling you guys about, there's one part of the standard that we're going to be looking at specifically today, and that is when we were learning about exponents and powers of 10. And so I did this for the kids that were at home, but I want you to look on your keyboard right now, and I want you to find the keys to be able to type exactly what I'm typing into the chat. Okay, I just put 10 in the little arrow that goes up and the 2. For me, the arrow is on the 6 key, and so you hit Shift 6 and it makes that little arrow that goes up. So if y'all could try to practice typing that, I just want to make sure that you can find this little arrow. Good, Avery.
Miss Allen, if I get logged out, it's because of my internet.
All right, let's see if anybody else can find that arrow. We're trying to show an exponent. Good, Daniel. Awesome, Parker. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to make sure, especially people that were face to face, that they know what it means if I have to put that little arrow. Basically, that arrow is talking about our exponents. And so exponents are the small little number that can come up to the side of another number. And so I'm going to show you guys an example. All right, for example, instead of putting the little arrow, let's say that I could just write it, it would look like that. The arrow just indicates that it's up and to the right corner. Now, here's what that means as a review. Whatever your big number is, multiplied by itself that many times. So my big number is 10. And so I'm going to have 2 10s multiplied together. All right, what is the answer to that? What does that equal?
20.
Close. 200. Think. What's 10?
I'm confused. My mind is like, hold on.
That's why we're going back over it. What's 10 times 10? Think about your math facts. If you know it, you can say it or put it in the chat. Good, Daniel R. Yeah, 10 times 10 is 100. Good, Daniel O. Okay, so what we're thinking about with our powers of 10 is also seen with our exponent and how many zeros are in our answer. Okay, now 10 times 10 is an easier math fact, but as we get to some of the harder ones, for example, 10 to the 5th, okay, or 10 with the little 5 next to it, it's kind of easier to just draw the zeros, okay? It goes on a pattern, and so 10 to the 3rd would be 3 10s multiplied together. Oops, 3 10s, which is going to be 3 zeros, 1, and then 1, 2, 3 zeros. Okay, here's 10 to the 4. It's going to be 4 10s multiplied together.
So,
So 10,000. Okay, there's a pattern every time. You're just adding a zero.
So you're adding a zero instead of.
So then I'm going to make my 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 zeros.
Okay, so when you're using your powers of 10, you're trying to think about that exponent in relation to how many zeros are in your answer. Again, right here, my exponent is 2, and so I have 2 zeros in my answer. Right here, my exponent is 3, and so I have 3 zeros. Right here, my exponent is 4, and I have 4 zeros. So it goes on a pattern. Now look at a couple example problems, because when you do your MobyMax stuff, you're going to see this. Alright, so look at this one. Hold on.
Number equal how many zeros are.
Okay, so here's the first one. It says write the number in exponential form. So we're thinking just like we were talking about, the 10 raised up, and then what would our exponent be? Count the zeros. Good, Avery. Yep, 10 to the 6. Very good, because there's 6 zeros. Okay, think about this one. Here's number 2. That's right, good. Good, Parker. That's okay, Gianna. Yep, you can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now it's asking you to figure it out. What does 10 to the third look like? So write your 1 followed by 3 zeros. Good, Parker. Awesome. Perfect, Daniel. Yep, 1,000. Good. Okay, do this one. 10 to the 5th. So you're 1 and then 5 zeros. Yep, and just go back and count. Very good job. So that's going to be, Avery had 1 more 0. There we go. Okay, so then we have to figure out how to use those exponents and everything to then multiply decimals. Okay, this is going to be on the MobyMax, so that's why we want to go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so when you're multiplying by a power of 10, you don't actually have to know any math facts. All you have to do is remember to move your decimal according to your exponent that many spaces over. So for example, I'm going to take this one over to Paint. Okay. For this one, I have the number 24.65, or 24 and 65 hundredths. Okay. If I'm going to multiply by actually 1 million, or 10 to the 6, I'm going to be moving my decimal point 6 different spaces. Now, I do not have 6 spaces because right here, that's already 2. And so this is going to be one where you need those placeholders. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it so that I have a little more room. Okay, 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4, 5, 6. And so I'm going to fill all these in with zeros. And that now is going to be my answer. That is a very large number, but that's because you're multiplying by 1 million. Okay. With these, you will want to remember that when you multiply, you move your decimal to the right. When you divide, you're going to move it to the left. This is something we talked a lot about this school year, and you have notes in your math notebook about that. Okay, let's look at another one before y'all have to go. Let's look at this one. Let's see. Okay, this one I have 9.762 times 10 to the third, or 9 and 762 thousandths times 10 to the third. Again, I'm going to be moving my decimal to the right because I'm multiplying. Okay? I'm going to move it to the right. How many spaces? Look at your exponent.
3.
Exactly. So this one's actually a little easier because it's not such a big number like when we just multiplied by 1,000,000. That's big. Okay, this is still big, but it's not as big. So 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces. No more decimal right here. So this one, my answer would actually be 9,762. Okay. Now, I know that we had to kind of go pretty quickly through that, but how many of us at least remember back to using an exponent at some point this year? How many of us remember? Good. Okay. So the whole point of you watching the video in just a second and doing your MobyMax is so that it becomes a little more fresh on your mind. It's just for practice. I don't want anyone panicking. Now, those of you that do have your math notebook, look back in it. If you don't have your math notebook, no emergency, it's okay. But we want to make sure that you are able to look at that if you do have it. Now, if you're in group 2, I'm going to get started with y'all in just a second. Thanks for hanging out. Group 1, I'm going to give you guys the link to the math clipboard again, just in case you need that, because that is what you need to be working on up until 11:40. So at 11:40, you need to log back in for science, and until then, be looking at the Monday stuff of the math clipboard. Okay?
Why didn't I see the